Well, I'm going to start recording if you're okay with that. And
Okay, yeah.
I want to get you to say and spell your first and last name so we can put your name super at the bottom of the screen.
I can write it in chat. Here you are.
Perfect. Perfect. Pull that up. Perfect. All right. How do I pronounce your first name and last name for
Gela.
Gela
Gela Turabilidze. Yeah,
Turablice?
right.
Gala. All right, Mr. Gala, I got your information from Professor Sergey Kadelia, and you're in Kiev right now, if I understand that correctly, correct?
Right.
Okay. What has it been like for the past few days for you and your family with President Putin invading your country and moving in on Kiev?
Yeah, I would say it has been scary, and the situation is quite unpredictable. Uncertainty, because we don't know what to expect next. I wouldn't say that because I live next to the American embassy, right next to the embassy, and I can see the embassy from my kids' room. And I wouldn't say that it's been quite noisy in this neighborhood, but most of time we hear some cannon fire, like cannonade, about 30 kilometers, 20 kilometers away from here. So it's not that loud and as in those places, because in those neighborhoods like Irpin and Bucha, and they have been fighting. Yesterday there was a big fight in Bucha, and some some Russian military column was destroyed by the Ukrainian army, and lots of buildings suffered, and people in the neighborhood. So it was really real fighting. Not here. I wouldn't say that there is any fighting in the city with Russians, but on the outskirts of Kiev, because Kiev is surrounded by smaller towns and villages, and that's where the fighting took place yesterday. I don't know about today. I heard there was some explosion in Brovary, which is different part of Kiev. It's like little, it's a small town, but close to Kiev, and some military base was hit there. But we have friends living in this neighborhood, and I talked to a friend, and she told me they have to hide in the basement because their house is right on the front line between the Russian positions and the Ukrainian positions. So and she said that the house next to theirs was burned to ashes today, and then they hide in the neighborhood in the basement, and slivers cut into their windows, and so it's scary for these people living, because this neighborhood is like some of the neighborhoods. They are quite well off places, and people like nice places, and but now people are suffering. So, and we have friends living close to this area, to that area, and they just hide in the basement because people are scared. So this is a major reason why people stay at home. And I would say the majority of people left the city. Majority of my friends have left already. So we decided to stay, and we have this compound surrounded by the wall, and we have some armed guards. So I would say that we feel kind of safe, and we have electricity, we have Wi-Fi, internet, so we have all perks of old life, I would say. Because my friends, they have no electricity at home, no water, no electricity, and the food is scarce because they've been staying in the basements for several days. And that's the airport which Russians utilize for their airborne division. So
You said that for the past few days, you and your family were in a compound, a bunker as well. Is that correct?
no, we have a basement. That's where we spent 2 nights in the
Mhm.
basement, and because we were scared. But it's like we have basement in our apartment building.
Gotcha. You have a wife and a child?
I have I have two kids. I have three kids, but two kids, smaller kids, are staying with us, and we also have a friend with her kid, and we have also a son of our friends, a student, university student, also staying with us. He hasn't had a chance to leave for his hometown, so he decided to stay with us. So there we have several people staying here.
I want to talk about that. How do you explain and how has it been talking to the younger children about what's going on? Do they understand?
Well, they understand, but I would say that they don't understand as people in, for example, in Kharkiv, because I talked today to a friend in Kharkiv, and they've been heavily shelled, residential areas, and she said they spent five days sleeping in the door in the hallway, and they could hear very close explosions. So my kids, they still haven't heard something, some explosions here near the house where we live. So they still don't feel it. They they watch news a little bit with us, but they don't feel it. They happy they don't have to go to school. They can stay at home, play computer games. So they're still enjoying the old life we used to have, the perks of old life.
Are you fearful that as this conflict drags on, that it gets further in and maybe you and your family will be
Yeah,
close?
I'm very scared that if Russians try to attack the city, and that this war drags on, so it may result in the street fight. I mean, the population was distributed around 25,000 Kalashnikov. I mean, the territorial defense. So they are all armed with grenades and with Kalashnikov. So if Russians decide to enter the city, it might result in human catastrophe, because there are lots of people stay in their apartments because we have curfew. The government enforced curfew, and we have to stay at home, and we are not allowed to leave the apartments. Otherwise, we will be considered infiltrators, and then it might result in something bad for anyone who will get caught in the street during the curfew. Because apart from the police patrol in the city, there are territorial defense, and so we are staying at home. I can hear sometimes at distance some sporadic fighting in the night, and but as we don't know what's going on there, we're staying at home. So I can say there is some fighting in the city during the night, but we can't see that. So
Like you were saying, we've read some of those reports how, civilians and citizens have been given the ability to fight back if it comes to that. Would you be required if it comes to that to be out there?
well, we have mobilization, total mobilization in Ukraine. So right now, but we had negotiations today with Russia. Ukrainian team flew to the border with Belarus for negotiations with the Russian team, and people are very hopeful, especially my wife, because I'm still she's a little bit nervous because we haven't left the city, so we're staying in the city, and many of our friends they left even today. Some people left the city, but I decided to stay in the city because I find that our apartment house and our compound is well protected. So we decided to stay. But I cannot predict what might happen in the city if the Russians decide to enter the city, because people are very angry. Even those who were quite moderate, they're very angry now. Like, because it's something. It's like I wrote on my Facebook. It's something surrealistic that happened to us. You
Right.
just wake up, and then you hear this announcement, Putin talking about the war. So it's like something surrealistic. People cannot believe it. We didn't believe it. Americans were the American intelligence was talking about this for several weeks, and we didn't believe it. I mean, we didn't believe it might happen between Russians and Ukrainians, because it had never been the case. I mean, before. So
Talk about
Very
that for
sad.
a minute.
Very sad. Right.
What does it feel like watching your country and your friends and just your countrymen having to fight this battle with what I call a maniac. He's a maniac.
Well, there is I read, I watch like academics, and I read like research reports and policy briefs, and this is something that many experts have been talking about for a while. This is not new. I mean, it's been for some period of time in the relationship between Russia and the United States, and we just got caught right in the middle. So Ukraine. So we're the hostages of the situation, I would say, because in my opinion, it's something brutal that can happen in the 21st century, like people killing each other with I don't know, with grad systems, like with it's surrealistic. It shouldn't be that way. I mean, I'm sure that some solution can always be found, not just like this. And then I would say, in my opinion, it's a huge blunder that Putin made, because they put down our air defense in the first several days, the same way they did in Georgia in 2008. They did exactly the same thing. They were looking for some pretext, and they had the army ready for invasion. So it's a copycat situation. But Ukraine is bigger, and even without arms, people are resolute, and this all may result in guerrilla guerrilla fight. And I'm just lots of people will die, and the infrastructure will be completely annihilated. Because if you look at these videos from the fights in the neighborhood, they will see that the area is completely destroyed. The buildings, the houses, killed people, killed residential residents. So I mean, it's sad, very sad. This is somehow should be stopped, because if they enter the city, people will defend themselves, and that might result in some for the residents of, I mean, women and kids and old people. It might be human catastrophe for them. That's my opinion.
It's a shame that it's come to this. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Uh, are you hopeful that the negotiations will work, and two, that the sanctions that a lot of the world have put on Vladimir Putin will work?
Well, sanctions are good, but they do a lot of harm to Russia, but Russia does a lot of harm to Ukraine. So I mean, in our case, it's good to harm the economy of Russia, but maybe it helps us. But in the end, I mean, people are being killed, like, and then sanctions, because I know that militarily no one is going to help us. No one is going to fight Russia, because I mean, doesn't make sense. It may result in the third world war or some nuclear conflict, which nobody wants. So I don't know. There should be some concessions, and my opinion, on both sides, because otherwise the negotiations will result in nothing. But people of Ukraine are quite resolute, and they will fight. I mean, that's not only my opinion. Everybody thinks, if you follow the news on Ukrainian channels, like, the world boxing champions, Alexander Usyk and Vasily Lomachenko, they went to these territorial defense brigades. So many people like them.
Do you, if it if you decide to change your mind, is it too late for you and your family to leave, or can you still leave if you decide?
Well, we can still leave, but then I know there is a huge concentration of people on the border. So, and you can leave from the train station, and if it's within Ukraine, the tickets are free, so you can go anywhere if you get on the train. And then lots of people from Europe, from helping Ukrainians live in the country, in Hungary, in Slovakia, in Romania, in Poland. So lots of people, because they're scared for their kids and for their wives, so they decided to leave. So, but we'll be staying in town, hoping for the best. And thank you for all your support. This
Absolutely.
is important.